UFC 307 is this weekend, and the main event is Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree for the 205-pound belt. Today, we're going to talk about this fight and give a prediction and a breakdown of the main event for UFC 307, so stick around to hear my thoughts. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. All right, guys, so before we get into the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, become a channel member if you want extra content, all that good YouTube stuff. Thank you very much. Back to the video. All right, guys, so here we have it. The most unexpected main event of 2024 is UFC 307 in Salt Lake City, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree. If you take a look at the rankings right here, you have the light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira, who's on an absolute tear, going up against 8th ranked Khalil Rountree, something that none of us expected to get announced. This is what happens, guys. First off, let's talk about how this fight comes together. You have a card in UFC 307 that's in desperate need of a main event, and they don't want to do, this is just me speaking from the UFC's perspective. They definitely don't want to headline a pay-per-view card with Pena versus Pennington. This is not Amanda Nunes. They can get away with that sometimes. They did Pena and Nunes as 277, I think it was, in like Dallas or something like that. But they can't do Raquel Pennington against Juliana Pena as a main event of a pay-per-view, especially following the Sphere, because the Sphere was an amazing event, but the fights didn't deliver all that well. The main event didn't deliver, that's for sure. And the card didn't deliver from a name value perspective. So the UFC has an open card here, UFC 307. Alex Pereira had just finished Yuri Prochazka at UFC 303. And they were, they're like, okay, are we going to do Ankalaev in Abu Dhabi? Well, what I think happened is that they weren't sure what they were going to do with the Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway fight. And then when they got confirmation that Islam Makhachev was going to be out until 2025 and not going to be able to be the Muslim fighter headlining in Abu Dhabi, as Khabib did it, Islam has done it 2 years in a row now, where the Muslim champion headlines that October pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi. Now, once they found out Islam was going to be out until 2025, and they knew that Islam versus Arman Sarukian was not going to be on that card, they booked Topuria versus Max Holloway, and then now that clears things up. They go, okay, Ankalaev wants to fight in Abu Dhabi. We're not going to put Pereira on that card, so we're going to get him another fight. He's now booked against Alexander Rakic, and that leaves, if you look at the rankings, there wasn't much. There was like Volkan Oezdemir and Carlos Ulberg were the other options right now, because you have Yuri Prochazka, 2 losses to Pereira coming off of a KO loss, and you had Jamal Hill injury, Nikita Krylov's like nowhere to be found, and then Rakic and Blachowicz aren't going to get title shots right now either. So given that there's actually a little bit of a story with Khalil Rountree saying that he wants to fight Alex Pereira, it gives them something to sell, and that's really all they need. They have one clip of him saying, I know the fans don't think I deserve it, but I want the Pereira fight. Sometimes you can really speak things into existence. So that's my thoughts on how the fight came together. But now let's talk about the actual fight. Pereira is coming off of a string of wins. Okay, so once he got knocked out by Adesanya in Miami to lose the middleweight belt, he moved up to 205. And from there, he went Blachowicz, decision win, hard fight, but won. Then you had title fight against Yuri, headlining Madison Square Garden. And then 5 months later, he's headlining UFC 300 against Jamal Hill, KO win. And then he goes and short notice KOs Yuri for a second time at UFC 303. This run that Alex Pereira has been on is generational, once in a generation run. He's a once in a lifetime athlete, in my opinion. And he's going up against Khalil Rountree, who talked himself into this fight. It just is what it is. That's how this fight came together. Now we're here, and I want to talk about the specifics of the fight. Let's actually break it down. The height difference is massive. Alex Pereira is 6'4". Khalil Rountree is about 5'10". The reach, huge difference in reach. Very similar styles though, both striking heavy, even though they have different styles of striking. Alex Pereira has a little bit more of that kickboxing style, while Khalil Rountree has a very traditional Thai striking style. Given that they have such similar styles, I think that the size of Alex Pereira is going to play a massive role in this fight. And especially if we operate under the assumption that Khalil Rountree is not going to initiate any grappling in this fight, or maybe very little. I could see some Thai clinching, but not like wrestling, trying to get the fight to the ground, control time, all that. Given that information, I think that Pereira is going to come in. He's going to close the distance. He's going to throw those very well hidden calf kicks, and it's going to slow Khalil down. Khalil's going to start throwing less kicks, and Pereira is going to do his normal routine that he does with fights. I mean, he finished Yuri in a different way, but you know, he does his typical, he has a calf kick. He kind of marches in, and then he goes jab to the body, jab to the body, jab to the body. That sets up the hook up top with the left hand, the same way that the calf kicks can eventually set up a head kick. So what I think is going to happen in this fight is that Khalil Rountree going to come out trying to, you know, prove a point, show that he belongs here. And I think the moment's going to be too big for him. Pereira's been in so many main events for the UFC. He's the face of the UFC at this point. He's been in so many big moments, won and lost. This is kind of Khalil Rountree's first moment. I don't think Rountree has ever even main evented. First 5-round fight for him in the UFC. Never been in a main event, especially not a pay-per-view, and gotten this type of publicity and media attention. I think he's going to come out. He's going to be over-aggressive. Pereira's going to shut down his mobility a little bit by landing those calf kicks. He's going to set him up. I think that Khalil Rountree is going to be way too aggressive, and I think that he's going to come charging, and I think Pereira's going to get him with an easy left hook. I talked about in the video yesterday that it was one of the worst narratives that Khalil Rountree has no shot, and I say that because he's a world-class fighter. He's fighting in a UFC title fight against the face of the UFC. Anything can happen, especially at the highest level. These guys are so talented and so skilled and so dangerous. I genuinely don't see a path to victory for Khalil Rountree in this fight. I said the same thing with Sean O'Malley and Merab, and I knew in the back of my head that there was the getting wrestled to a 25-minute decision for Merab, but I don't see Khalil Rountree winning this fight in any way, shape, or form, especially if he's not going to grapple or try to wrestle or do something to disrupt Alex Pereira's rhythm. And so, yeah, that's my official prediction for this fight. Alex Pereira is going to land some very hard calf kicks. Khalil's going to get frustrated, step in on something a little overzealous, and Pereira's going to put him down with a left hook, or everybody's going to go home. And then we're going to have to figure out what's next for Pereira. Because if Pereira gets a big KO here, I really don't think Ankalaev or Rakic is next. I think Tom Aspinall might happen. So we will see. We will see. Let me know your thoughts down below on the main event for UFC 307. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you're interested in supporting the channel further, then become a channel member today for access to members only live streams, vlogs, and some other members perks. So click the link in the description down below or the join button on our channel homepage to become a member today. If you're interested in some non-MMA content from me, go check out my personal channel, Wyatt's World, and go check out my weekly comedy podcast, What's Up Bro, with Wyatt and Bo. Both of those are linked in the description down below. Go watch this suggested video, and we'll see you next time.